Okay, so we start with the first topic, on the first fallacy. And this is the super deal after you leave the EU. So the Brexit side is telling you that if you leave, you will have a very strong negotiation position with the EU, and the EU will give you a very perfectly bespoke deal where you have all the things you like about the EU, so especially the free trade, access to the single market, without all the things you don't like about the EU. So especially free movement of people, all the immigration, paying into the EU budget, and all these rules and regulations. So really the perfect have the cake and eat it deal. And the reason why you will get this deal, the Brexit side says, is because the EU has a trade surplus with the UK. So you buy more products and goods from the EU than the EU buys from you. Now, if you think about it, so let's say you certainly go shopping in supermarket. Let's say you have a Tesco nearby in your area. You buy more from Tesco's than Tesco's buys from you. Tesco's has a trade surplus with you. Now, following the logic of the Brexit side, you would have a very, very strong negotiation position with Tesco's because you buy more from them than they buy from you. However, and you can try this, if you go to Tesco's and say, you know what, I want to be greeted by my name, I want a glass of bubble every time I come to one of your shops, and there should be a red carpet. Then the reaction you get is at best a lot of laughter, and at worst they will send you to an asylum. So for some reason it seems, even though you buy more from Tesco's than they buy from you, you don't have a good negotiation position with them. And of course the reason is that between two parties, who has the better negotiation position, it doesn't matter whether one buys more from the other. What really matters is the share that you have in the other party's revenue. And your share of Tesco's is small because they have millions of customers, and if you don't go to their shops because you don't get your red carpet and your glass of bubble, they won't even notice. So, and that's why your negotiation position is very bad. On the other hand, if in your neighborhood you have a hairdresser and he just opened his salon and you're only one out of two regular customers, there is a different situation. There you have a very strong negotiation position. So there you can say, I want to be greeted by name, I want an espresso every time, and I want to receive a nice head massage after my haircut. And so you see, you have two times the same situation, two times you buy more from the other guy than they buy from you, but your negotiation position is totally different, because what matters is what is your share of the other party's revenue. Now, how does that look between the UK and the EU? Unfortunately, the UK is closer to the situation of the hairdresser, while the EU is closer to the situation of Tesco's. The EU only exports 15% to the UK. The UK, on the other hand, has 45%, so that's almost half of the UK's exports go to the EU. So 45 versus 15, the EU, your share of the EU's exports is 3 times less than the share of the EU in your exports. So, by consequent, unfortunately, already your negotiation position is 3 times less good than the EU's negotiation position. And it's even worse than that, because a deal would have to be agreed unanimously by all 28 member states, and each member state will look at his own share that he has with the UK. And because most EU countries mainly trade with each other, the UK's share of most EU countries' exports is actually pretty small. Only Ireland has more than 10% of its exports going to the UK. All other countries are lower. Some of the Eastern European countries, like for example Bulgaria, they have hardly any exports going to the UK. It has only 2.2% of their exports with the UK. So these countries don't care about a trade deal with the UK, and they will use their veto right as long as they can to get as much out of this deal as they possibly can. So what a country like Bulgaria cares a lot about is retrieving again some of the contributions to the EU budget that you make, which they just have lost because you have left the EU. Or what they also care about is that their workers can continue going to the UK because they get a lot of remittances from that. So they will block, they will negotiate until they get what they want out of that deal with the UK. Now, a lot of the people on the Brexit side say Germany will fix it because the German car industry wants to export to the UK. Now, your share of Germany's exports is only 7.5%. That is not that hugely much more than Switzerland's share, which is 4.5%. And as I explained in my first video, Switzerland didn't get anywhere to get that bespoke deal where they would not have to accept free movement of people, contributions to the EU budget and regulations. So Germany doesn't really care that much, A, and B, Germany is not almighty. We have seen that in the refugee crisis, where Germany failed to convince especially the Eastern European countries to accept their idea of distributing the refugees. So they had to abandon that plan. And C, what Germany fears much more than not being able to trade with the UK is the breakup of the European Union and the breakup of the single market. Because if they give you a good deal, then all the other countries will try the same thing. And they will end up alone, paying for everybody, and suddenly having trade barriers everywhere. And that would be fatal to their extremely export-oriented economy. So if anyone has a motivation to actually make an example out of the UK, to show everyone, look, they tried it, it doesn't work, they ended up with no deal at all, then it is probably Germany. So next time someone on the Brexit side explains you, yeah, don't worry, we leave and then we will get the perfect bespoke deal which suits us, you know, the UK special deal, then ask them, how are you going to make all these countries give us that? What leverage do you have on them? And if they then say, well, they buy more from us, we buy more from them than they buy from us, then tell them, okay, I will believe you if you manage to go to Tesco's, get a red carpet, get a glass of bubble, and be greeted with name every time you go there.